We have an incredibly competitive group. We've done everything the hard way, and that's the way it's going to have to be done right now again. And all we're going to focus on is getting this thing back to the 305. Get this thing back to Miami. And things can shift very quickly. It's going to be a gnarly game in Denver that's built for the competitors that we have in our locker room. And by the time we get on that plane, all we're thinking about is get this thing back to Miami.
My biggest concern going into any closeout game is human nature and fighting against that. You know, you're up 3-1, and, you know, most teams, when you're up 3-1, they come up for air, they relax, and they just kind of take it for granted that, oh, we're going to win this. Our approach has to be that we're down 3-1. You know, they're desperate, we have to be more desperate. They're hungry, we have to be hungrier. And there is no celebrating after game 4. We have another game that we have to win. And the closeout game is always the hardest game ever.
It's a nice jacket. It's a nice little combination you put together there, man. That's very summery.
Thank you.
Very vacation-like. Maybe a member of the Miami Heat can borrow it. You know, because they're headed for vacation. Tonight is about to be a very sad night, unless you're a Denver Nuggets fan or a member of the Denver Nuggets, that is. But for the rest of us, it's going to be a sad night because tonight's about to mark the end of the 2022-2023 NBA season. And hello, off-season, if there is such a thing. Look, nobody doubts the Miami Heat's competitiveness, all right? They're here for a reason. Nobody doubts whether the Heat are a good team. And we know it's been done before, once before, but done before nonetheless. A team has come back from a 3-1 deficit. We know that anything could happen. As I've said, it's not a series as much as it is a sequence of stories, individual stories. Every game is its own story.
That's right.
And we know that the Celtics just beat the Heat 3 straight times and look to be on the verge of history. And Spoelstra, we saw him say that after Game 6 against Boston. You know, we can't wait we wish we could play tomorrow. We're going to get this done. All that sounds fine and dandy. It all sounds good. But they ain't got nothing for Denver, man. We saw it during Game 1.
Right.
Denver let up in Game 2. This should have been a sweep. It's going to be a gentleman's sweep after tonight. I mean, like Miami, if you were going to beat Denver when Denver's locked in and focused, it was going to be when Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic were shooting a combined 13 or 36. If you were going to make your move, it was when Jokic was on a bench in foul trouble in Game 4. And yet, my main man Bruce Brown, my main man Bruce Brown and Aaron Gordon and KCP and those guys picking up the slack. It's just, Michael Malone said that the hardest game is the closeout game. And typically that's true. I don't think it's going to be that hard for Denver because I don't really think this series, in retrospect, in hindsight, is all that close. They're just better. And I don't think Denver makes the same mistake twice. If there were ever all Michael Malone has to say is look at Game 2. We messed around and let them feel like they can get in this series in Game 2, and they stole Game 2 on our home court. We went and dominated them in the 305 that Eric Spoelstra wants to get back to. Let's close this thing out. Let's have a party. Let's give our fans, this franchise, the championship it has long coveted and long waited for. I just don't see Miami so much as getting a game, another game, let alone making history. Like it ends tonight.
You're so right. Yeah, you're so right. You're so right. Look, Eric Spoelstra, I think we both agree Eric Spoelstra is going to be, when his career is over, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He is a Hall of Fame basketball coach. And whenever he stops coaching basketball, he'll be a Hall of Fame life coach. Because he's got, I'm telling you, man, he's got all the phrases down. You will improve your credit. You will be the best version of yourself. You will eliminate bad habits. It will start today. I mean, he's so convincing. You be like, yeah, man, that's right.
Yeah, they can do this.
That's right. I'm going to
do this.
You go get
right.
Listen, you're not going to back down. You're going to ask her to go out with you. She will say yes. and you will have the rest of your life. He does that thing with his hands too. He's like, oh, there it is. There it is right there. Okay, look, that worked. That little thing worked on teams that didn't have what Denver has. And maybe the Celtics have the roster that Denver has, but the Celtics don't have the resolve. They probably were outside the door kind of listening to Eric Spoelstra say that stuff and saying, oh, is he right? They were too weak-minded to just look at that and say, those are some nice words. It's very poetic. I know that comes from the Pat Riley school of convincing people that they're more than their individual selves. They're part of some brotherhood and all that stuff. Great. The Miami Heat have not figured out a way, Mike, to deal with Jokic, one. They have not dealt with Jokic all series. They really haven't. Even the game where he scores 40 and Eric Spoelstra starts lecturing people about their untrained basketball minds, like, oh, we ain't let him score 40 and limited his assists. Denver didn't play well, and Michael Malone called them out. What they've done, I think Denver has responded to Michael Malone, his call. He called them out. They haven't been the same since. Yeah. And Miami has reached the end of it. This is it. There's no more land out there. That's just South Beach. That's just water. There's no more land. You got nowhere else to go. And now they finally met someone who's as mentally strong as they are and more talented. And that's why it's over. And props to Denver, by the way. Props to Denver because our East Coast bias, I don't know if you admit that you have it, I have it. My East Coast bias kind of prevented me from giving them full credit. I gave them credit because I was supposed to. I was supposed to give them credit. But I didn't give them the full credit that they deserved as the number one seed pretty much from the time the season started to now. And they're playing like it. And they're showing everybody why all the hype is there for the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, no, I don't feel like I was guilty of that. I mean, if you call buying into the idea of the West being wide open, yeah, sure, okay. I didn't have the Nuggets over the field in the Western Conference. But, I've been banging this Jokic drum for a few years now. So, I'm not shocked about them being here. They're finally healthy and they're finally clicking. I think the story, if we could just get ahead of ourselves since we've already written the Heat's obituary, I'll get back to them in a second. But the story is that this isn't a one-off for Denver. This isn't Denver just catching lightning in a bottle. This was the next step in their progression and their ascension to a dominant team. Now, I'm not going to use the other D word yet because it takes more than one championship, which technically they still have not won, to get into that conversation. And I'm not going to disrespect the previous iterations of that D word by talking about Denver's potential to be one of those. I think you know what I'm talking about here. But having said that, it really does look like Denver is here to stay. Because the other person that they haven't had an answer for is Jamal Murray. When you think you have an answer for slowing him down as a scorer, which he did in Game 4, he goes out and looks like Magic Murray with 12 assists and no turnovers. And now what's scary for the Heat in Game 5, and what we believe to be the closeout Game 5, what's scary for the Western Conference for the next several years, as well as the rest of the league, is that Denver has two superstars. And they didn't do it the new school way of who can we trade for, who can we sign. These guys have grown up, they've been through some fires, they've been battle tested, they've had some setbacks, they've had some heartbreaks, and here they are. As I said at the top of this series, they got the big and little joker. And for those of you who play spades, you got the big and little joker, you probably gonna win more hands than you lose.
That's right. And I do play spades, and I'm great at it. But anyway, we know. I know I'm lying. But it is.
But am I lying? I mean, am I lying?
No,
I think Denver is going to be around for a while, especially when you look at the rest of the landscape of the Western Conference. Yeah, this is just the beginning for them.
We talked about this. What was it? Last Thursday, with Liv Moods, who, by the way, is going to be always a must follow. But tonight, she gonna act a fool tonight. Okay. Yeah. So follow Liv Moods, the number one Denver Nuggets observer in this here land. But it was a quote from Michael Malone. They were asking him about Murray and Jokic and their connection. And he said, this is after they won Game 4. He said, this has been 7 years in the making. And so think about that. Nobody talks like that anymore, Mike. 7 years. And I made the point to live. Like here in Boston, they're talking about, oh, we've seen enough. We've seen enough of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. It's time to break them up.
Yeah,
7 years. Right, but think about it. But that's most people. At 7 years, this is their first trip to the NBA Finals. It's not like they've been to the Finals and lost. They hadn't even made it to the NBA Finals. So most NBA fans, most NBA governors are not that patient. And so
they're not.
They're gonna get the benefit of it. But
and most people
now but the last thing I'll say on this, just real quick, and then I'll toss it to you. That whole dynasty thing, that's a different conversation for a different day and maybe a different
100%.
era. Because once this new CBA kicks in, you're not going to be able to keep all these guys like you have on the roster right now.
For sure.
The law, the government says you're not allowed to do it. So it's going to be tough.
Well, what else I'll say on your point about Denver and this, 7-year journey to this point, and I'm like Benny the Butcher. I think this is year 3 in the beginning of a 10-year run for them. It's like I'm thinking, like, did it work? Did it help? So the very thing that led them to be that boy, he cold with them bars.
He is. He really ridiculous.
The very thing that led to Denver being disrespected and underrated and underappreciated may have also allowed them to kind of take the long road. Because like if they were under the white hot spotlight that most teams are that have a 2-time MVP or that have a great player or 2 great players. I know Murray's been hurt or what have you, or that had the type of bubble that they had. They weren't subjected to the scrutiny is what I'm getting at. The same level of scrutiny that would foster the impatience that you're talking about. That other teams where it's like if it doesn't work in 2-3 years, all right, we got to hit reset. We got to blow it up. They were able to, because they sort of relatively speaking, flew under the radar, were able to kind of go through these tests and these trials and these tribulations to get to this point. But, I mean, listen, the big news today is that Tyler Herro, he's listed as questionable, but he could play for the first time since Game 1 against Milwaukee. I don't know what you could expect from him. I don't know if even playing him meaningful minutes is the right thing given how your rotation has come together, but you got to play him if he's available. If nothing else, maybe it gives you a spark. Maybe he can hit some of the threes that Miami isn't hitting, because I'm trying to find the way for Miami to extend this series and to render this conversation that we're having right now, Michael, as moot and premature. But, like, Denver's back to hitting their threes, which they did all season. We talked about the Jokic-Murray combination. Miami, conversely, is not hitting its threes. Denver's also shutting off the wide open threes. I don't know that Tyler Herro coming back is going to make that much of a difference enough for Miami to get this back to the 305. I don't think we're being and I hate doing this to Miami, but honestly, I think even coming into this finals, a lot of the prognostication about this being a long competitive series, to me, believe it or not, Michael, and follow what I'm saying and tell me if you agree, had less to do with disrespect for Denver and more to do with respect for Miami as not just an 8 seed, but heat culture. Heat culture convinced us that Miami could hang with Denver, more so than a lack of respect for Denver, thinking that they were some kind of fluke and didn't really belong here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's no question. It did. I mean, we talked about it. It was heat culture plus recent receipts. We just kind of ignored the regular season. That was the anomaly, and we looked at the reality of taking down the top 2 seeds. Remember, the two best teams in the NBA in terms of record. They beat them both, and they beat them both convincingly, even though one of them went to a Game 7. But they were up 3-0 on one of those teams, and then they, 3 losses. Then they blew them out in Game 7, and then they took care of Milwaukee in 5. Those are the 2 best teams in the NBA. So heat culture plus what they had done in the postseason. But I'm going to tell you, man, it was a bad week. It was a bad week in Miami. Eric Spoelstra said he wants to go back. No. They should play the next one. Play the next one like in Georgia or Alabama or somebody else. Play it like in the Bahamas. Because when they went back to Miami, think about all the things that they had, all the momentum that they had, and all the things that Denver did to them in Miami. So they go back to Miami. Series is tied at 1. You're feeling pretty good about it. Okay, here we go. Game 3, Denver made 5 3-pointers. They made 5 3-pointers for the game, and they won it in 2023. And then in Game 4, Jokic. By the way, that 5th foul was a joke. Don't get me started on these NBA officials. The 5th foul on Jokic, 9 minutes to play. He's got to go to the court. Bam flopped. That's not good Heat culture. We don't do that here. That's Heat culture. He flops. Get the 5th foul on Jokic. They go to the bench. Jamal Murray is 5 for 17. Jokic out of the game. And then my boy, I've been trying to tell you about him. Boston, stand up. Dorchester, stand up. I've been trying to tell you about Bruce Brown, bruh. I mean, man,
you've been telling me about him for years. You've been telling me about Bruce Brown for years.
And I tried to tell you about
You've been on Bruce Brown since Brooklyn, right? Well, matter of fact, Michael,
yeah, that's right.
You've been on Bruce Brown since Detroit. Yeah. You've been down with Bruce Brown since Detroit, right? Am I right?
That's right.
Right? And then in Brooklyn, you saw it. You saw his potential in Brooklyn. So that was no surprise. His 11 points in the 4th quarter of Game 4. No surprise to you.
Everybody knows. I'm lying. Michael Smith.
The 5 people
Bruce Brown.
the 5 people who watch this show and have continued to watch this show since Bruce Brown was a thing, they get that inside joke. they get that inside joke right there.
I appreciate y'all. So look, they had their moment. They missed it. They missed their shot. Miami Heat missed their shot in Miami. If they had even gotten a split, we'd be having a different conversation. Get a split, go back. But I think Denver overcame. Denver did a Miami in Miami. They overcame some adversity and found a way to win anyway. Now they're going back to Denver, and they're going to wrap this thing up tonight.
We're so sure about this. We're so sure about this.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Listen.
I'm saying just because we said all of this, here comes Jimmy Butler with one of those Jimmy Butler hunched over, exhausted bubble games.
He'll play well
to get this series to unnecessarily extend this series. Get it back to the 305. Not that that's mattered for Miami lately, but just because, that's how it works. It's because you're sure of something, the opposite happens, especially to us.
It's over.
Egg just finds our faces. We love the taste of our own words here, brother from another. Or our feet, as the case may be. Is Vince Carter over?
It's over.
And it's just beginning for Denver. It's just getting started.
Is there an appreciation also just for what you guys have accomplished so far?
Not at all. At the beginning of this year, we talked about winning a championship, competing to get to this point. So that's always the goal. It's always the goal with the Heat. It's about winning. It's not about individual anything. It's about holding that trophy collectively as a unit to be the best team. And that's where we're at. We don't, all the odds, 8 seed, nah. And none of that matters. It's just 2 really good basketball teams. One of them has to get 1 win, and the other has to get 3. So let's just hope the other that has to get 3, get 3.
Hey, David Aldridge, the Miami Heat might be the best team in the league as an organization at saying the right things. Mm-hmm. I'll speak for Michael Holley. We just don't know what they can do with Denver at this point. And I know you never say never, and Heat culture, and they're great at handling adversity, but it just really feels like, forget 3-1, it doesn't feel like Miami's going to get another one. I just... Does it have that feeling for you that tonight is a coronation for the Nuggets, and like I said earlier, the beginning of maybe a run for Denver now that they have not one but two superstars?
Well, I would say this, gents. If Denver comes correct with the proper focus and treats this game like a game 7, then yes, they should win because they're the more talented team. And when Denver's played with intelligence and done the right things on the floor and not made a bunch of mistakes, they've won the games. But if they come thinking, well, we're just here, we're just showing up to get our rings tonight, they're going back to Miami. Look, y'all should know this by now about these Heat. They're vampires, man. They don't die. You got to put a stake in their chest. Need Van Helsing.
You have to kill him. You got to kill them. They ain't going to die. You got to kill them. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So if Denver comes correct with the right amount of focus and energy, what Greg Popovich used to call appropriate fear, he still calls it appropriate fear, of the opponent, then yeah, Denver should win tonight. But anything short of that, it's going to be 3-2 going back to Miami.
Hey, tell me what you've seen from Denver in this series. I'm not even talking about big picture Denver in the last couple of years and what they've built, but in this series, is there something that they've done that just really stands out to you and gets your attention as novel, revelatory, anything?
No, you know what, guys, you know this in the finals. It's not about anything. You're not reinventing the wheel. It's a cliche, but you just do what you do better and harder. That's all. And what Denver has been able to do, especially the last 2 games, they've really cut off Miami's water on the 3-point line. Those shots that were wide open shots because Denver was screwing around and making mistakes
staying home
in their coverage. Yeah. They are doing well, not just staying home, but they're also switching correctly now. They figured out that's a slip screen. That's not a real screen. They're slipping and they're going to flare out, and they've picked up on that. So their switches are better now. They're staying attached to guys, and all those open shots are now contested shots. And so they've done a really good job the last couple of games of making Miami make really tough shots to beat them, or just go through Bam. I think they can live with Bam taking as many shots as he wants to. They can really live with Jimmy taking a whole lot of shots as long as he doesn't get to the foul line. And that's another thing Denver's done much better is not foul. They've defended better without fouling, and Jimmy's not shooting 12, 13 free throws a game in the last couple of games. So I think Denver's defense has just been much better. And then offensively, guys, they're just hard to shut up. They're hard to stop. That big monster is hard to stop. He is lethal. No matter what you throw at him, he has the counter already. When LeBron said that at the Western Conference Finals, how he literally tipped his cap to Jokic, is because Jokic does stuff like he's doing now in the finals. Whatever Miami's throwing at him, it doesn't matter. Like, he sees it, he attacks it, he finds the open guy. And if those guys make their shots, I don't know how you stop Denver. I don't know. They tried to crowd Jamal Murray the last game. He still had 10 assists. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if they trust their teammates to make their shots, and those teammates make enough of them. Like you were saying, Holley, about your man Brown making those shots in the fourth quarter. With Jokic on the bench, on the road, Jeff Green steps into a 3. You know what I'm saying? On the road. Those are series-winning plays. Those are championship-winning plays.
What about that guy, Jamal Murray? His real coming-out party was back in the bubble. Obviously, he's had some injuries. Come back from those injuries. We knew Jokic was a 2-time MVP. And he, as I've said before, he's been this guy. He just needed the help to get this far, right? So now he has it, but not only does he have help, he's got the ultimate sidekick who's kicking ass and taking names himself. How do we need to talk about Jamal Murray? Provided Denver closes this thing out, whether it's tonight or Game 6, whatever. Provided Denver finishes the job, how do we need to start talking about Jamal Murray?
I think as an all-star two-guard, all-star point guard, really. I mean, he's playing point guard for him. He's an all-star guard, period. He doesn't have a position, really. He just has the ball, and he shoots it, and he passes it. He's one of the better guards in the league, one of the top 5 or 6 guards in the league. Off of this postseason, how could you say not? You know what I mean? Booker was great. Booker watching at home right now. You know what I'm saying? So Booker was sensational for Phoenix. but Jamal Murray's still playing, and you can slough it off the Joker if you want, but Jamal Murray is a big part of what they're doing. In addition to, they've added so much the last couple of seasons. You see Aaron Gordon is playing at a very high level for them. KCP doing an awful lot for them. Bruce Brown doing an awful lot for them this year. They're just a deeper and better team. Brown, rookie, coming in, playing great, you know what I'm saying, in meaningful minutes. So their supporting cast has been better, more consistent, and more trustworthy, so that Joker and Murray don't feel like, well, I got to force these shots. No, I'm going to pass it to my man who's open. I'm going to throw this lob to AG, and he's going to go get it. Oh, I'm going to throw it in the corner to Jeff Green, and he's going to splash this three. So,
or they could miss 23 out of 36 and survive.
Or they could, and still be fine, because Joker is so good. He makes it so much. The margin for error that the rest of the team has is so much greater because Joker's on the floor. Because he can just fix stuff that when it breaks down, he just go square up and shoot a three off of his left leg and knock it down to win a playoff game, to win a Western Conference Finals game, just because he can. That's just what the greatest players in the league do. When the team needs them, all right, let me go get this bucket that we need.
So conversely, you got a lot of other teams trying to get to the point that Miami and Denver are at this point. So let's kind of turn the page to free agency and just go through a couple of big names that could be on the move and discuss to where. First and foremost, I will start with Kyrie Irving, because I'm fascinated by it. Last time Michael and I discussed Kyrie Irving, it was when he and LeBron had this PR plan about, LeBron in Denver and whatever they were trying to pull to get the Lakers to pull the trigger on acquiring Kyrie Irving. Now I'm seeing reports of speculation that the Rockets' $60 million in cap space is burning a hole in their pocket. So if they don't get James Harden to come back to Houston, which is confusing why they would want them problems again with that young team, their backup plan is Kyrie Irving, which by comparison, I think makes the James Harden pursuit look smart. What is Houston what are they trying to do here? This is not the veteran leadership you're looking for, is it?
Ime, that's Ime, right?
Sometimes your desperation leads you to make strange decisions. We've all been there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would say respectfully, I'm not sure that Kyrie is going to solve the problems that the Rockets have. They want to be more competitive. They got a very impatient owner who wants to be more competitive. But I'm not sure that adding Kyrie to that mix. Kyrie on a veteran team could be great. So I think my guess is, it's a guess. I don't think Kyrie's going to Houston, but I could be wrong. I mean, I think he wants to win and wants to at least try to win in Dallas. I don't think LeBron's going there. I think LeBron's going to stay in LA and watch his son play at USC 25 times next year, and then decide what he wants to do after next year. But I don't think he's going anywhere next year other than watching Bronny and playing for the Lakers.
No, but Mike mentioned Houston for Harden. I can understand why that would be attractive for Harden, because he spent so many years there and they love him.
Sure.
Would Houston be interested in James Harden?
Oh, sure. No, they are interested in James Harden. That's not.
They are.
And
why?
Sure.
Why is that? Why?
Because they want to win more. Look, James Harden, for whatever you think of him, you're going to win more games with him on your team if you're the Rockets than you are without him on your team. And so why not? Why not try to go get a player who's past his prime, but is going to be more impactful in Houston from an on the court and from a business standpoint than he would be for most any other team. You know what I mean? He's got a history in Houston that was pretty good. People might come back to see it. They might want to see him come back. Now, are they going to win 50 games? No, but they could win more than they won this year.
Right.
So I get why Houston would do it, because
and they also not thinking championship. It's not like Philly. It's like,
I mean, all due respect, their young guys are not turning the needle. They're not pushing the needle in terms of other teams saying, we got to get them guys. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
let's give up one of our best players for some of those young guys that Houston's got. No, not happening. So they are kind of stuck with all that cap space. Unless now the move that I would go after is Fred VanVleet. You know, that's the kind of guy that I think could help a young team get better. You know, that has some tread left on his tire. You know, can be coached at a high level. You know, with Ime there, you know, he's been on a championship team. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of investment. If I'm going to go after a free agent, that's the kind of guy I would go after if I were the Rockets.
I'm
Not
glad
saying
you
they
brought
would
him
get
up.
him, but that's the kind of guy I go after.
Well, I'm glad you brought him up. Just declined his $23 million player option, unrestricted free agent in July. So perfect timing, DA. Who do you think will pursue him, and who has the best chance of getting a player of his caliber? What do you think is the best fit for Fred VanVleet?
Well, see, VanVleet opens up there'll be a lot of teams interested in VanVleet, and teams with good players that might be willing to trade some of them to Toronto for a guy like Fred. Fred's a hell of a player. So I think the universe is very, very large for a guy of his caliber. You know, whether it's staying in Toronto, you know, that's the kind of guy that could certainly help the Lakers. Now, could they put a package together that would make sense? I don't know. You know, it would be difficult for them because of the restrictions they have on their free agents. But, you know, a team like Miami, you know, Miami could certainly use a player like that. And has young guys, where it's a Herro or Robinson. They've got some young guys that you could put in a package for a guy like Fred VanVleet.
Right. And they still got that window.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of teams interested in Fred. Fred is a, you know, legit player who needs to play fewer minutes than he's played in Toronto the last couple of years for Nick, who's just been playing him, running him in the ground, 38 minutes a game. Just come on. You got to get his minutes down. He's a good player, and everybody's good at 29 minutes. And a lot of good players good at 38.
Well, speaking of 38, Chris Paul is 38. It seems like he wants to play forever. At least keep getting checks for as long as he can. I guess not technically waived by the Suns, but the expectation is he will be waived if he's not traded. What's the best fit for Chris?
I mean, honestly, Phoenix is the best fit for Chris because, you know, Chris is on a re-sign, a new deal, basically.
Right, like a minimum deal.
For a lot less money. You know, I don't know the exact number, but it's less than what he's making now. You know, I just think at his age, with his skill set, his desire to play for a contending team, I mean, where is he going to go that would afford him the opportunities that he would have playing with KD and Booker next year? And Ayton, I'm assuming they're going to keep Ayton, for a very good coach in Frank Vogel. So, I mean, where are you going to go that's better than that if you're Chris Paul? Like, I mean, unless he's going to go play for the veterans minimum with the Lakers, which I can't say is an impossibility. But, you know, most of these guys, this usually is not volunteer basketball. Usually these guys play for money. So.
That's true.
So
but if you go do that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying, my guess is I think there's a chance he could come back to Phoenix on a reworked deal, on a smaller deal.
Yeah.
Shorter deal.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say if you want it to be about the money, that's fine. No judgment, but just don't come back and be like, I just want to win, or I just want to get a ring. So with that in mind, I just got one more question, Michael, before I pass to you for the last couple of questions. The only other person I want to touch on was Dame, and how much oxygen going in, just help us prepare. How much oxygen should we give to Damian Lillard's speculation and whether or not he gets traded to a contender, or conversely, the Blazers trade, you know, Simons and the number 3 pick or whatever to try to get somebody to come to Portland? Because Dame seems to be relishing the attention right about now.
I was going to say I will have a better answer for you in 10 days when I know what they do with that pick. You know, if they keep that pick, and no matter who it is that they take, Miller or Scoot, either one, they're both good. Like, they're both excellent prospects. But that's not what Dame wants. You know, he wants a vet. He wants vets. He wants some guys he can win with now, which I understand from his perspective. So depending on what Portland does, I could answer that question. If we get to draft night and they take one of those guys and say we're keeping them, then you can start the Dame speculation bandwagon, you know, for real. But right now, if they wind up working that trade or something like that and get I'm just throwing a name out. I'm not saying this is happening. Siakam, someone like that. An all-star caliber player to play with Dame, okay, then I think he's going to stay there. But I don't know the answer to that yet.
Yeah, but just in general with Dame, like a lot of guys, you can kind of feel their frustration. He may be frustrated. I don't necessarily see it or feel it. Is that a fair characterization? And if so, why is that? Is he just cool with staying in Portland?
I think Dame and Bradley Beal are unique guys in this day and age. They're actually loyal to the teams that took them. No, they actually have real loyalty to the teams that took them. And I know that's crazy these days, but they really do want to try to win where they are because they like it there. They like what the organization has done for them financially, of course, but just also in terms of believing in them and sticking with them through injuries and through losses and not going as far as everybody wanted in the playoffs. Now, you can argue fairly, I think, well, wait a minute, we gave you the bag. Now, we can't give you the bag and then build a team around you. You got to pick what you want. Like you said, you want the bag, but you can't then say, I want to win. Well, you took the bag. Okay. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I ain't mad at you for taking the bag, but you took the bag. You decided.
Right.
So, so Dame and Brad are in these weird positions, but fellas, you took the money. I mean, I'm not hating on you for taking the money. I'd have taken the money too, but you can't then turn around and say, now build a team around me.
Speaking of that, I was going to say, because Michael, we brought this up earlier when David wasn't here. I just want to get your take on it. New CBA, it makes it very difficult, intentionally, to build one of these teams where you got a lot of big salary guys. You can probably have two, and even two is going to be a challenge for you.
It's going to be hard.
Do you think that changes? Does that changes what we saw? Like you witnessed, two separate three-peats from Jordan. You saw a three-peat with Kobe and Shaq. The Lakers, tried, back-to-back even. Is it going to make it different? Is it going to make us redefine what we describe as a dynastic organization?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be very hard to win, 2-3 championships in a row because it's literally going to be too expensive for teams to do. It's just going to be too expensive. You just can't do it. Even Joe Lacob has thrown his hands up and saying, no mas, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep doing this. So, yes, I think you're going to see, a redistribution of talent that's more where everybody's going to have two really good players, or maybe you have one superstar and one all-star, but you're not going to see these super teams. I mean, I don't know how you do it with guys wanting to get paid at the top of their profession, as they should ask to be paid, right, by the way. But if you have one guy saying, I'm one of the 5 best players in the league, I deserve to be paid that, good luck putting a team around them. I mean, it's going to be hard. This was intentional, as you said. That's the exact right word. This was intentional on the part of the NBA, try to spread the talent more evenly around the league.
Hey, DA, real quick, we don't have much time left before we got to get to this break, but I do want to sneak one more thing in with you. One guy who's won everywhere he's been, who's more of an individual dynasty, is LeBron James, right? And so I see Lil Wayne, home team, see Lil Wayne on All the Smoke, and he said something that is obvious, and we all know it, but you know how a lot of people, when they argue Jordan over LeBron, they go straight to 6-0 in the finals. Wayne offered kind of a counter that I hadn't really considered. Doesn't change my mind, but I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Here's Wayne. Here's Wheezy.
MJ, Kobe, Braun, rank 'em.
Uh-oh.
MJ, Kobe, Braun, rank 'em. Brian.
One?
Yeah. Mike and Kobe. Brian had done that shit with 3 teams. And that's right there. That's when I was like, regardless, he ain't got 6. I was like, but damn, he done it with 3 different teams. and not on one of those teams did he play part 2? I mean, role 2.
He still can get 6 though. That's the scary part.
Yeah, definitely.
That sway you in any way? The 3 teams argument?
He hesitated on Jordan for 2, by the way. He hesitated on number 2.
No, it doesn't sway me in any way.
Okay.
Much respect.
Just
Much
want to check.
respect to Weezy. No. He's entitled to his opinion. And you can make an argument for LeBron. I'm not saying you can't make an argument for LeBron. You can make a very valid argument for LeBron James. He's the all-time leading scorer. You can make an argument for him. He's won 4 championships. You can make an argument for him.
Right. You might not win that argument, but you can make it.
Michael Jordan's the best basketball player I've ever seen. Michael Jordan's the best basketball player I've ever seen. And as I say all the time, it's not particularly close in my mind. That's
wow.
That's
oh, come on now. Not close. So you say not close. You said it's not even close.
Finally,
why is
finally
it
a
close?
voice of reason on this
not
show.
particularly close.
Why isn't it close?
Not as close as people like Michael make it out to be, right?
Hey, it's a really no.
Hey,
I mean,
here's what I would say to Lil Wayne. The only reason Michael Jordan didn't do it with 3 different teams because he ain't had to. He chose not to.
I always say,
if he wanted to, he would have.
guys, he didn't play in a 7th game in the finals because he didn't have to.
See, it's like talking to those people who just won't listen. Y'all have already said there's no way that Jordan can come off the wall. So even if you hear a good argument, you ain't gonna listen to it.
Valid argument. You don't have to agree with me. You can make an argument saying Bron's better. And I'm not going to say you're wrong. But if you ask me what I think, I'm going to tell you what I think.
Y'all know we're going to be like Ray and Claude in the jail when we old and decrepit arguing LeBron and MJ talking about the upper room. Now, we're going to be doing this for the rest of our lives.
I'm not mad at y'all. Have at it. I'm not mad at you.
We're talking about the finals. And when I hear trigger words like effort, outworked, and energy in game 2 of the NBA Finals, I just got a question for the Nuggets. Who the F do you think you are?
Miami just keeps coming. They just keep coming. And Detroit was the same way. As a matter of fact, Benny, some of my favorite NBA teams
I know what you about to say.
Profile.
Go ahead and say it. No, you about to say some of your favorite teams is from Detroit. Go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it. You, the Ohioan, you can, like Rick James. I'm doing the Rick James.
I can't say that's true.
The sooner that people can just let go of the fact that, that he just doesn't look. He is not ever going to give you the attractive game you're looking for. But I'll tell you what, he will ball on everybody on the court. But his shots, as a fan, they are just absolutely hideous to me. But he makes them and he wins games.
Michael, you ever see a dog or an animal that was like so ugly it was cute? You ever see like a dog like that?
We got 3 of them. We got 3. We got 3 pugs.
Jokic's game is like a pug. It is so ugly that it's attractive.
All right. Brittney Griner, 29 points, season high 29 points in the Mercury's win over the Indiana Fever. But the story, unfortunately, Michael, is, as you know, some social media a-hole deciding to harass Brittney Griner in an airport, which troubled, to say the least, her teammates in the WNBA community, the sports community in general. I got questions. I'm sure you have the same question or questions that I do, but first, here's Brittney.
BG, was that a fair trade for the Merchant of Death? I know you kill it on the court, but he kills it in real life. Is it true you had to have sex with Vladimir Putin to get released from Russia, Britt?
Get out of the way, dog.
Britt.
Get out of the way.
Britt, is it true you had to...
Get out of the way.
What about his wife?
What are you doing?
I'm trying to talk to Brittney. Hey, Britt. Do you still want to boycott America, Brittney?
Stop.
Well, get off me.
Stop. Stop.
I'm weird. Why? She hates America. What about the Merchant of Death, Britt? Get off me.
Stop, dude.
Get off.
Yeah, why are we even here? Like, why is this? So what has to happen to one of these players?
Yeah.
You know, and obviously Brittney Griner is, you know, as notable an NBA player on and off, a WNBA player on and off the court as there is. But what has to happen for them to be like, you know what, they all should be flying charter? Everybody. Now, Brittney is authorized to fly charter. Her team is not, I believe, so she's probably flying commercial with her team. But it's like, this scene shouldn't even be allowed to happen. So I'm not even gonna like entertain the bullshit, you know, from this clown. It's like, we shouldn't even be in a situation where random dudes have access to WNBA players. It's like, what has to happen for them to be like, oh yeah, we probably should fix that? Like, why is this even a thing? That they don't all fly charter and that there is an increased security? Because my man, with all due respect, was having a lot of trouble with just this one dude. If somebody has some serious bad intentions, that's not enough security to be protecting these athletes.
That's right. And this is what I asked the WNBA. Do you want to be a professional organization? You want to be a professional league or not? That is a scene from a league that doesn't have its ish together. You've got Brittney Griner. We all know what happened to Brittney Griner. We were watching this situation. We know it's much bigger than basketball. It's much bigger than the WNBA. So it's only a matter of time before somebody, it could have been somebody who came with who came with flowers. Somebody who was like, hey, you know, Brittney, I'm such a big fan. You've got to, like, how many times do we have to say about the WNBA? Get it together, step up your game. We've talked about the salary of WNBA players. We've talked about the travel accommodations of WNBA players, the kind of accommodations that they have to deal with in different cities. Some organizations are it, some aren't. Step up. Like, let this be a wake-up call.
It shouldn't take this. On a lighter note.
This is terrible.
I'm going to pivot with some levity here.
Okay.
The kind of security that WNBA needs is a security guard that worked the Canadian Open. Okay? Yeah. So Nick Taylor, Canadian, wins the Canadian Open on a 72-foot putt. Adam Hadwin decided to celebrate, and security was having none of it, was on his game, was not taking any chances, like perfect form tackle. And here's the best part. Hadwin's wife says that in true Canadian fashion, her husband apologized to the security guard. So how nice, he apologized for getting tackled. But shout out to that security guard. Somewhere else that needed a lot of security, Michael, keeping it pushing. And I got another question. Just like we talked about, like, why is the WNBA, why are we still half-stepping when it comes to travel accommodations and security for WNBA players? Why is Floyd Mayweather still fighting? Why is that still happening? Because I was like, wait, Floyd Mayweather, had a fight? Okay, you're right. So I asked this. Why are people paying to see Floyd Mayweather fight?
Now that's a good question.
Okay.
That's a really good question.
Because him and John Gotti III are fighting, and a brawl erupts in the ring, but I don't know how much of this video rabbit hole you went down, but the better video was like in the bowels of the arena when literally everybody and their mama was throwing hands. I ain't seen a scene like this since the dude came down the parachute. What was that, the Riddick Bowe fight? What was that fight where the dude just landed, descended into the ring? I'm getting old, I'm forgetting that. But like, this used to be commonplace. I'm just like, wait, why is Floyd Mayweather still boxing? He's 137 years old.
I know, he is 137 years old, and about 10 years ago, I think it was about 10 years ago, Mike, that's the last Floyd fight I paid for. I think it was Floyd and Canelo. I think it was.
Oh, okay, Floyd Canelo, okay.
Had some at the crib. My wife was like, you're not about to pay for a fight. I said, I'm gonna invite some guys over and say, okay, they're gonna pay. We're not paying for this fight, okay? So I invited I've had some
Yeah.
fellas over, and then it's that whole thing. They knocked at the
They
door.
chipped in?
Before coming
Was it
in.
a kick-in party?
And before, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Only a
That's
couple-
really,
it-
you
maybe
ain't
five-
broke.
Maybe.
You ain't broke.
No,
You
hold
could
on,
have bought the damn
no,
fight.
It wasn't. No, it was on principle. My wife didn't want to do it. She did not want to do
They
this.
don't
for
have
this
the party.
fight.
They don't have the party. You don't invite
Okay.
people to have a pay
I
for the
know.
party. Much money as you
Yeah.
make.
Anyway,
Yeah, so
stop it.
at least I got paid.
Only two of them chipped in, though. Only two of them chipped in.
Yeah, I would not have been one of them had I been there. I at least got paid to cover Mayweather-McGregor back in the day in Vegas. I went there for work for that shit show. Conor McGregor, the Heat had him at halftime of Game 4. And again, just going too far. Just going way too far. He hurt the mascot Bernie goes into the emergency room because Conor McGregor decides to hit him for real. It's like control yourself. Play like again. Why is Conor McGregor still anywhere doing anything? But like, bruh, like that's a real person in there. And then he hits him when he's down. Like, what are you doing?
Look at that.
Like that's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
I mean, look at this. Look at this.
What are you
dude.
doing? And
he's
then with his little pain relieving spray. Nah, man, you cold clocked him. Now he in IR. But good news is that he will be available for Game 6. Bernie the mascot. The bad news is there will not be a Game 6. See you next season. Let's go to break and come back and say goodbye. Let's take this last break before we get out here.
Yeah, you've been saying it too much, though, Dom. You've been saying it too much. There will not be a Game 6. I agree with you, but now, since you say it with such authority. Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.